the APIs here in San Francisco and across the country have suffered a lot of anti-Asian hate incidents. But we're not the only group that has suffered hate. In fact, the State Attorney General, Rob Bonta, in his report of last year, showed that African Americans had the highest number of hate incidents in 2020. So we should be alarmed with not only hate against APIs, but against hate against African Americans, against people who are Jewish. The rate of anti-Semitism has really risen. And we need to speak out loudly and clearly, not be divided. I am here today because several months ago, I got an ad on the Nextdoor app. And it was an ad by the recall campaign against our DA, Chesa Boudin. And the chairwoman of the recall campaign said, the DA does not care about anti-Asian hate crimes. And because he doesn't care, crimes against Asians have increased in San Francisco. I was in shock and in disbelief that such an irresponsible statement could be made, because you and I know that 2 years ago, it was really the anti-China, anti-Chinese rhetoric that was coming out of the mouth of our former president about the pandemic, about COVID-19, about the Kung flu that was coming out of Wuhan, China. So I knew that this allegation by the recall campaign was false, and it really compelled me to look at what was behind these charges. And over time, I had an opportunity to look at 19 cases that have been highlighted by local media that involved Asian victims who were either killed, who were attacked, who were assaulted. 19 cases. When I looked at these 19 cases, 9 of them were anti-Asian hate crimes that the DA and his office are actively prosecuting. Of these 9 cases, 51, there were 50 felony charges and 51 hate crime enhancement. That is not a sign of a DA that does not care about anti-Asian hate crime. It is a DA and his office doing the job as they should. Then there were at least 6 murder cases, attempted murder cases, that the DA is prosecuting. Now, it is unfortunate that in these 6 murder cases that there was no evidence of anti-Asian hate. And if there's no evidence of anti-Asian hate brought forth by police investigators, there's no way that the DA can pursue hate crime charges. The family of the Thai grandfather who was tragically knocked down in Anza Vista and ultimately died is unhappy with the DA because he did not pursue hate crime charges. Well, how can he? He can't. If he did, he would be laughed out of the court. But he is pursuing vigorously the murder charges against the suspect, and that's what is important. And then of the 4 remaining cases that I looked at, these 4 cases didn't have hate crime evidence, they didn't involve murder, but it did involve assault, battery, larceny, felony charges against Asian victims. And those felony charges numbered for those 4 cases more than 20. So the data is clear, folks. The DA is doing his job. And it's important that the voters of San Francisco recognize it. The standard for recalling a public official is not because you can cherry pick a case that you did not like the outcome. What is important is look at the overall record of this DA and what his office has done. One other data that I would like to point out. In 2021, there were over 30,000 larceny theft cases in San Francisco. That is a big number reported to the San Francisco Police Department. The police department was only able to gather evidence and refer to the DA for prosecution only 724 cases, meaning 2.4% of reported larceny cases to the San Francisco Police Department was referred to the DA for prosecution. And he, again, and his office, they're doing their job. Their rate of prosecution, bringing the charges, is no different than any other DA in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I say to the voters of San Francisco, we must reject distortion, lies, mistruth that the recall campaign has perpetrated for the last several months. We cannot fall prey to the emotion that there is so much crime that it's the DA that is causing the crime. No, he's not causing the crime. He's doing his job to prosecute, and that's what voters must remember. Voters must reject the recall and let the DA to continue doing his job as he has for the last 2.5 years.